You're listening to Payments Innovation, a podcast dedicated to helping business leaders navigate today's global digital economy. Looking to learn about the latest innovations within fintech and payments? You've come to the right place. Let's get into the show.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Payments Innovation Podcast. Today, I'm happy to bring in Archie Ravishankar from Cogni. Archie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
Sure, it's really good to have you on, especially with our new Challenger series, both podcast and simulcast with video. Archie and I have known each other quite some time now. At the began structuring this product here in the US, and now we're excited to see you bring it to market this past April. For our listeners, Archie, could you give a brief background about yourself? What brought you to create Cogni, and then we can get into Cogni specifically and what you're bringing to market.
Yeah, sure. So before starting Cogni, one thing I realized was people's lifestyles were fundamentally changing. And when people's lifestyle change and new business models evolve, and banking as an ecosystem provider will have to support this change. And I felt that banks weren't ready to support this lifestyle change of the millennials and Generation Z. And that's when the gig economy was starting to take a lot of traction. And in the last few years, gig economy has become part of our lifestyle. And I felt that we need a much unique platform that supports our personalization and provides for financial services. So that's how Cogni was started. And Cogni graduated from Barclays Techstars program. Mm-hmm. We started as being a digital bank for the gig economy, but then we felt gig economy has become part of your lifestyle. So we became much more of a holistic platform that supports financial and lifestyle needs of a user.
Yeah, and that pivot really made a big difference for you, obviously, to open up a little bit, further of a user base that you're looking for, but then also with products, I'd imagine they're able to expand into that. I guess let's just dive a little bit deeper into how you guys are functioning here in the US. So obviously you use a partner bank or two in the back end, and then you build obviously products off of that. Can you talk a little bit more about your offering here in the US and what you're bringing to market?
Yeah, sure. We launched in end of April. The few things that Cogni is very focused on is to make sure that financial services are easily available to our user base in a lot more simpler and easier fashion. So we really focused on one thing that was of a personal resonance to me. So when I moved to the United States a few years ago, trying to get a bank account was exceptionally hard for me. And obviously most banks judge you based on the money that you have in your bank account, which means that if you don't have a lot of money, you don't get good customer service. So for us, it was much more of a personal opinion that everyone needs to be served with utmost dignity and with utmost empathy. So within Cogni, while we provide all the basic services for free, we made sure that customer service is very paramount for our growth here. So we really focus on customer service. In addition to that, the other features that we have is obviously, you can get a quick checking account with us. You get a debit card, Apple Pay. We are only live in iOS at the moment. Other features include, single-use cards, which has been quite helpful to a lot of our user base as well. Very simple user interface and experience. And our initial launch was only used to test the user experience, the customer service, and we are launching something very exciting in the next 3 weeks into premium banking as well. So that's where we are.
And so when you decided to bring your product to market, I guess you have to prioritize, right? What you want to launch with, and then what you want to put on the back burner, maybe for a phase 2 or 3 approach. Can you talk a little bit about how you determine which products you want to bring to market, at launch, and then how you set up your phases from there to get the user base?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of hypotheses that we had. That's how people are going to react, and this is a product that we need. And obviously, some of them were validated. Some of them are just shot in the dark with few focus groups, and also your initial focus group is not your entire market as such. That's a learning lesson for us. So we went back to the basics of banking and said, the basic things that are very important, is non-negotiable, is phenomenal customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no doubts about it. So we put our utmost efforts and resources and manpower to make sure that we get that right. And then we focused on the easeability of use. People wanting to download the app, get the application in, and they're able to deposit cash, withdraw cash in a lot more efficient fashion. So they can have this bank account where they can deposit cash and have phenomenal experience from customer service point of view. And then other functionalities that we started adding upon is we added Cogni to Cogni Pay, where especially with millennials and Generation Z, they do a lot of peer-to-peer transfers, right? They don't write checks very often. So we got that right. And then we decided, okay, how do we bring in other people who are not within the Cogni ecosystem to the ecosystem? So we launched Cogni to non-Cogni Pay as well. And as we started onboarding users, we all know for a fact that there are some bad actors out there as well, who obviously that most financial platforms don't want to have on the platform. Right. So we strengthened our compliance and risk team, because that's the core of what we do as well. So we really made sure that we strengthened those aspects very well. And then we made sure that we fine-tune our product proposition, that it resonates with our user base that we're going after. And now we are ready to scale.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're able to use the different functions of how they're spending their money, and kind of tie into different products off of just bringing it to market and getting data off of that. I guess to transition a little bit just about the market in general here in the U.S. with the challenger banks. Obviously, the last couple of months, there's been a lot of valuations of pretty high expectations for some of these challenger banks, and then you got Varo getting their OCC charter. So entering the market now, I think there's definitely room for opportunity here. Could you talk a little bit about how you guys maybe differentiate from some of the other challenger banks, maybe like a Monzo N26 who entered the U.S. market, and how you guys are positioning yourselves here in the U.S.?
Well, I mean, compared to Monzo and N26, both are European challenger banks. We are an American challenger bank to start with. And from a Cogni standpoint, we are really focused on the spend side of the user. Millennials and Generation Z spend about close to $700 billion in discretionary spend, right? While they don't consume complicated financial products, they do spend a lot of money on their lifestyle and services. So we really focused on innovating on that side of the platform and bringing more product propositions on the spend side of the ecosystem. So we're looking Cogni as a platform, as a banking platform, and then adding additional services on top of it, especially on the spend side of the ecosystem. So that makes us a unique differentiator. We're not looking at providing financial products to start with. We're really focused on enabling their spend in a lot more easy, convenient fashion.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. So I think that's what does differentiate you, comparable to some of the other products that are out there or other offerings that are out there. How did you determine? Obviously, you wanted to make it the best user experience for your customer, also with access to support. Now we spoke previously that you built this internally, right? And so I guess, could you talk a little bit about how you prioritize that and really how to tie in the reward systems or things like that you maybe are looking to bring value to your customer, and how you prioritize that internally, and then kind of how do you navigate building that for you guys?
Yeah, so for us, obviously, when we first started out Cogni, we had a lot of different ideas. Different ways we could enable spend, because in the United States, we have multiple applications on our phone. And even for myself personally, while I don't consume financial products every single day, I do spend money on lifestyle services. And for me, looking at money, moving money, managing money is just an inefficient patchwork of service, which I was personally facing. I said, how do we bring all that ecosystem into a simpler fashion that it actually starts working like an appliance? Just turn it on, and then the financial services actually becomes a lot more invisible, and your lifestyle services sit on top in a much more easier fashion. So for us, and how we start building complex systems from day one was very important to us. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. While you wouldn't see that as an immediate, sexy cashback offers and stuff like that, but what you would be able to see is that we would be able to build adjacent services on top, so it doesn't look like a patchwork of service, right? So from a technology standpoint, we make sure that the platform is able to scale within the lifestyle services ecosystem. So as I earlier alluded to, was the basic banking application, ability to spend money, and then add services that we can build on top, such as unique product offerings, trying to determine that if you're a high value customer for a particular spend, so you can bring unique offers onto the platform, then it's just simply plugging in with another service and then doing a patchwork on it. So from a technology standpoint, Cogni is very differentiated from a standpoint that it is seamlessly woven, that you don't see it like a patchwork. So that has been very core to what we are doing here at Cogni. And that's been a very exciting process, because that's a challenge by itself, that these applications exist independently, but when you combine them all together, hey, it just looks like a spaghetti. Now, how do we unravel that and make sure that the user interface and users are able to smoothly transition from that ecosystem to another functionality without having to go through a whole bunch of complicated technology stitch up?
Yeah, and I'd like to touch a little bit deeper on that then. So when you understand where their lifestyle spending is and the brands that they're using, do you try to tie that into your application in regards to the interface? And so do you work with the partners to be able to maybe do some sort of API integration so you can connect it into the Cogni app, or do you have to redirect them to certain areas? If you could talk a little bit about how you are building that, or how you've already built that type of user experience.
So we have a few things going live in the next few weeks, and obviously it has still, we haven't, the proof is in the pudding, so the users haven't seen that yet. And obviously I'd like to get firsthand feedback about how they're actually feeling it. But our thought process is to make sure that it does not go to multiple applications, that it seamlessly stays within the application. You don't have that kind of a glitch or a system switch that happens. So that's our goal. And hopefully when we launch in the next 3-4 weeks, obviously the customers will be able to, our members will be able to tell us how they like it and how we can make that better.
Yeah, it's direct feedback, right? And so you can understand how they prefer to use it, and then obviously that'll increase that stickiness within your application itself. That makes a lot of sense. Now, just as far as like the back end ecosystem for you guys, obviously you partner maybe with a banker or two, and then a processor as well. How easy is it for that types of partnerships to work for you guys? Obviously, with the regulatory aspect, needing that partner bank, but then also issuing cards and moving those processes around with the processor. Could you talk a little bit about that ecosystem and how you could easily gel all of that together for you guys to get to market? Just for future entrepreneurs that are looking to maybe launch their own, can you talk a little bit about that journey and your experience with that?
Chris, I think you've been with our journey from day one when we first met you, right after Barclays text us. But it's been a journey for us. But all our partners have been reasonably open in working with us and challenging some element of status quo. But I think in the last 2 years, things have become a lot more simpler, a lot more straightforward. You have so many platform banking aggregators who have come into play, who can provide a lot of these services very seamlessly. But we took the hard way, and obviously that we added a lot more systems in place ourselves, because we took the hard route and not taken out-of-box solution, which gives us the power to modulate some functionalities the way we want it to be done. But in saying that, obviously we work with Visa, we work with a processor and a backend bank as well, and we have a very strong product technology team that we work with, and who keeps in continuous contact and relationships with our processor and on the platform. And many times, obviously, we have to take some choices, whether do we outsource our customer service to a provider who is an affiliate with one of our ecosystem infrastructure providers. But so those are decisions that you have to take as a founder. and what's more important to you as a business. So from a Cogni standpoint, we said we're going to start with customer service internally because we want to know about our customers firsthand and try to learn from them so that we can start building functionalities. So there are certain things that we took it in-house, even though it's slightly expensive, but it made the right sense for us in the long run to make that effort and time put into that. And obviously, we had great investors who supported that vision as well to give us that the cushion on cash to make sure that we spend in areas where we thought was a lot more important. So for many founders, it depends on what is the impact that they want to see. How would they like to impact the customer base? What is that they need to know for? And then if they start focusing on putting the money on that on those goals, and then you'd be a market leader in the space. And for us, our goals was very simple because of a personal experience that I've had and some of my team members have had, opening up a bank account that we were not treated well because you're judged based on the money that you have in your bank account. And we felt that customer service is paramount, and all users have to be treated with dignity and empathy, not on the amount of money that you have in your bank account, because you could be a good person with a good financial behavior.
Mm-hmm.
We put a
Yeah.
lot of effort to that.
Yeah, you brought up really good points. I mean, obviously, being in the shoes that you're in, you have to make trade-offs, right? And to bring what's valuable that you think immediately, where in the long end, you want to be able to take all of that in-house, I'd imagine, or as most as you can. But it's about prioritizing those trade-offs to beginning, and then hopefully get some margins to spring more internally to customize.
Yeah.
I guess, wrapping up close to the end here. Where obviously you've got some awesome stuff coming in the next couple months or so, which I'm excited to have you release as well. But just for you guys, where do you see Cogni in the next couple of years? Obviously, just released this year, exciting stuff, and opening up new products. What's success for you guys here in the U.S. Market as far as your landscape as a challenger bank, and then where would you guys like to go as far as a high level over the next couple of years or so?
I mean, Cogni's vision is to bring banking, commerce, and lifestyle services on a single application. Our win would be that if we could seamlessly integrate some of these services in a lot more easier fashion, so that the users can use one single app to access some of their services. So that's our vision. That's where we want to get to. And our immediate goals is to start building those adjacent features that it seamlessly integrates, and then people start using them in a lot more seamless fashion. I mean, since our launch, we've been growing quite exponentially as well, and we've been getting a lot of user feedback and how we can make it a lot better. And so the functionalities that we are launching in the next 3 weeks, which includes premium banking and access to lifestyle benefits, and also some cash advance as well, which enables for the user, which help the user for the discretionary spend. So these are adjacencies that we have started building a few months ago to make sure that from the feedback that we have received, that this is what the users need, and then and bridge that in a lot more seamless fashion. And so obviously we want to continue building that up as we start integrating other lifestyle services into the application. Obviously, our vision is a lot larger and it's a while to get there. But we want to have those quick wins and make sure that the users adopt the seamless functionality that we have built so far.
Yeah, it's like you guys are actually in the middle of what I believe is happening in the industry itself, with like embedded finance and also challenger banks trying to integrate with multiple different partners as well. You guys are kind of at that center where you can be that source of value that can connect into multiple different applications to embed them into transactions as well. You get companies that like Salesforce and things like that are announcing like their own payments types of models, where you guys can really slip into that and be that value in that back end with lifestyle and also if you move into that business sector as well. I guess to wrap up here, what are your thoughts on actual traditional banking? Obviously, they haven't been agile enough to attain the users, and so there's multiple different companies like yourself, getting what the end customer needs. But what are your thoughts on traditional banking in regards to the banks, and where they are positioning themselves today, and where they're going in the next couple of years, specifically, I guess, here in the U.S.
Obviously the digital banks have kind of, enabled a lot of people's lives, especially the underserved market, a lot better than large banks have done. And I think large banks, they have very unique financial products that the digital banks or challenger banks cannot provide at this stage. So as your, as your life gets a little bit more mature, you obviously require those services, and obviously the big banks provide a way better service in that regard than challenger banks. But for moving into a total digital era, I think that some of these functionalities would be disrupted as well. That's just my opinion. I think the platforms, the banking as such, has to become invisible. It exists, but it should be invisible to the user, right? So I see that most banks will have to use technology in a much more, with far more deeper customer insight than just providing a financial product, and also kind of insert themselves in the customer's moment of need, right? And that has been the biggest challenge for most banks. And also they did look at potentially distribution models are evolving within the marketplace, and technology such as open APIs and 5Gs are coming into play. So how could we potentially start connecting banking with homes, machineries, vehicles, and other devices? So that's going to be the biggest challenge. And obviously then now you're starting to venture into the segment where Google and Amazon and others are playing. So this is uncharted territory for major banks, and obviously, and this is going to pose a very significant challenge for a lot of main banks. But no challenge is unsurmountable. So I'm sure they have the resources they have to provide the service, which is always good, because right now the customers get the best of the products out there. And customers are right in the front and center of making sure that they're actually taken care of, which is why the challenger banks came up in the first place.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and it's sort of like the challenger banks kind of raised the stakes a little bit too high before. Now it's even transitioning, as you mentioned, into more open connectivity with open APIs, where it seems like the bank's best roads is to be that financial infrastructure in the back end, and let the others play on top. Right. And that can really initiate that digital engagement. So, I definitely, it's exciting to see where that's going, especially get someone like Goldman that's actually participating in both with Marcus and doing infrastructure platform as a service as well. And so exciting to see that. So, well, Archie, pleasure to have you on here. We'll be sure to share obviously all of your information with Cogni and try to get you guys some partnership opportunities, as well as engagement into the platform itself. So we'll share your information. Is there anything last items that you'd like to add before we close out here?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me over. And for those of them who are listening, people always ask me, what does Cogni mean? Cogni means cognitive. Our thesis was, you're moving away from an information age to a knowledge-based age, and a platform will have to think, learn, and adapt in a much more personalized way to the user. And that's been our mission when we started Cogni. And we would welcome our listeners to register for Cogni and try out the platform as well, and love to hear the feedbacks and also learn while we do that. But thank you, Chris, for giving me this opportunity today. Yeah,
of course. We've like I said, we've been in conversations and engaged for a few years, and it's exciting to see this thing grow here. And anything we can do to help, obviously, we'll help you out there for sure.
All right, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
RJ.
Bye, Chris.
Currency Cloud is an online payments company that makes international money transfers fast and simple for businesses. We're building a borderless future where international transactions are seamless for a better user experience. Discover the world's most trusted payment platform and our toolkit of developer-friendly APIs at currencycloud.com.
You've been listening to the Payments Innovation Podcast. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe now in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Thanks for listening. Until next time.